At the end of what seemed to be at least an hour's walk, Callie saw with pleasure a group of houses. Several of them had lights on, and the hope of a return to civilization soon made her speed up. When she got to the first one, she pounded on the door. A little more violently than politeness required, because she was exhausted physically and emotionally. A man in his 50s opened it. His scowl and imposing build made her take a step back. If there was a serial killer in the area, it could have been him. "What is this about?" he grunted. Callie explained her situation to him and asked him if she could use his phone to call someone. In response, he turned back inside the house, saying that he was going to call a mechanic. "No need. I'll call my friend to come pick me up, and I'll take care of my car tomorrow. I don't want to bother you." He grumbled an answer, which made her understand that he wouldn't change his mind and that he was still going to call a mechanic. Callie doubted he would find someone on a Sunday evening, but he assured her that he knew one who always comes to help any day. Callie was surprised to see Vincent, but thanked him for coming to help. On their way home, she apologized to him for getting distracted while she was with his daughter, and he apologized for being angry at her over an accident that could happen even on his watch. "Children are unpredictable. I had no right to treat you like that." "Everyone was worried when we didn't see you come back when it was already dark. Danielle left dozens of messages on your answering service and was on the verge of calling the police. I had to insist that she stay on the farm with Rose and not come with me." Callie's heart melted, realizing how much they cared about her. A few days later at work, Callie had an argument with the head chef of the hotel and was disappointed with Hugo for not defending her because he didn't want it to be misinterpreted for a special treatment. "You could at least have defended me. You hardly spoke out against Chef Lafarge." "But that's what I did," he replied indignantly. "My ass, you barely defended me. He called me every name and you didn't flinch." "You know how he is. Like all chefs, he tends to have a rather flowery language." "He called me a know-it-all pain in the ass. I don't think that's very flattering." "Sure, but there is no but. He's a chef in his kitchen, but you remain the hotel manager, and here he attacked one of his colleagues directly," Callie argued. "Don't you think that if I had defended you too much, he would have suspected something?" "He has the right to disagree with me, but not to insult me. Anyway, I think that the way he spoke to you, he already suspects something." Callie noticed Hugo stiffen. He retrieved his jacket, which he had carefully placed on an unoccupied armchair so as not to crease it. "Anyway, I should go. I have work." She picked up her files and headed for the door. "Callie, wait." His voice had softened considerably. She retraced her steps slightly. "Next weekend, I'd like to invite you to Paris for a tour and also to meet my family," he said. "Yes, I'll come." Callie interrupted him, happy to have a few days together to mend their relationship. While in Paris, they stayed in Hugo's family mansion, where Callie met his parents and sister. At first encounter, Callie got the impression that his mother does not like her. Since Callie arrived at a restaurant the next day for lunch after a quick tour of the city, the younger version of his mother was frantically playing on her smartphone. She barely looked up to greet them. As soon as Callie was seated to the right of Hugo's father, Madame Ricard addressed her. "Callie, here it's common courtesy not to raise your voice." Callie looked at her wide-eyed, not understanding what she meant. She had stuck her nose back into the menu and didn't seem ready to give Callie more clues. Callie looked at Hugo, and he seemed as surprised as she was. "Mother, what do you mean?" She looked at him as if he had just lost his mind. "You know, Hugo," she justified, looking up at the sky. "Americans always tend to speak very loud wherever they go. You hear them all the time." Callie was going to reply immediately, but as she was about to open her mouth, Hugo took her hand and squeezed it, begging her to not respond. Unfortunately, the lunch became a real ordeal. Madame Ricard gave Callie several striking digs, often disguised as exemplary politeness. Callie was bestowed a few remarks full of clichés about her country of origin, as when she was ecstatic about the fact that Callie ate in reasonable amounts, unlike her compatriots. Laura, meanwhile, remained glued to her state-of-the-art iPhone, torturing an unfortunate salad leaf with the tip of her fork. Callie tried to ask her a few questions, which she answered with a bored look. Mr. Ricard disappeared before dessert, called by urgent business. His wife and daughter left soon after. Apparently, their afternoon schedules were also busy. Once on the sidewalk, Callie sighed in relief. Lunch was finally over. Hugo grabbed her hand. "So, this lunch? It was nice, don't you think?" asked Hugo. Callie looked at him incredulously. "Tell me, are you talking about the food?" She replied, dazed. No, I meant you weren't very excited about the idea of having lunch with my parents, but it was kind of pleasant." "Pleasant?" Callie got angry. "Did you find that pleasant?" She took a deep breath. "Hugo, it was anything but pleasant. Your mother hates me, and besides seems to hate all Americans. She kept comparing me to the worst clichés in my country, some of which weren't even true, and she criticized everything I did. Excuse me if I didn't find this meal pleasant." "You exaggerate a little. She wasn't so rude." "I'm exaggerating? How would you have taken it if someone had insinuated that you had to know much more about the Hollywood celebrity gossip than about the politics of your own country? You cannot only focus on the negative. My father and my sister did nothing to you. And I should have been happy about that?" That's when his phone rang. He gestured for Callie to wait and took the call. Callie couldn't really blame Hugo for having a strange family, which for the impression she had didn't resemble a real family. One where everyone lived his own life separately, but meet at restaurants for a scheduled meal, husband and wife living separately because they were busy. She couldn't help but draw a parallel with hers, or that of Danielle. No one would have allowed themselves to treat a guest, their son's girlfriend, like that, without giving her any chance to be appreciated by judging her based on retrograde stereotypes. And which family pretends to have lunch together without really talking to each other? This lunch was a family meal, only in name. She quickly realized that it wasn't so much the fact that his family behaved like that with her that had hurt, but rather that Hugo hadn't once tried to defend her. Back at home, Callie was talking with Danielle, and one thing led to another. She also told her about the meeting with Hugo's family. The stay in Paris marked the end of Callie's relationship with Hugo. Over the next few days, their relationship gradually faded. Some of his habits that she had not noticed before began to annoy her seriously. Callie decided it was time to end the relationship and talked to him one evening before leaving work. He looked at her like a beaten dog, so she took a few minutes to continue comforting him. She even agreed to go eat pizza with him, just to show him that she certainly didn't want the end of their relationship, but only because their ways of life differs and wouldn't want to have a mother-in-law who does not like her and does not make any effort at hiding that fact. They were going to have to work together for almost a year, and if he didn't stay her boyfriend, she hoped he would become a friend. One day, Callie joined the Allard family for a brunch. Afterwards, Vincent excused himself from the table, and she followed him. "Did I do or say something wrong?" she asked. He looked at her amazed, apparently not aware of what she wanted to talk about. "No. Why?" "Because I have the impression that you are mad at me," she explained. "It's not all about you, Callie," he replied, annoyed. "So you're mad at the whole world. It's even worse than I thought." Callie left it there, not wishing to continue the conversation. He held her by the arm. "I'm sorry, I'm concerned. I didn't mean to take it out on you." He looked down. His apology sounded sincere, and she immediately regretted being a little dry with him. "Melissa has decided to go live in the United States," he said. Callie immediately understood that his real source of concern wasn't the fact that his ex-girlfriend wanted to settle across the Atlantic, but rather the consequences of this information. "Is she taking Rose with her?" He nodded silently. They remained a few moments without speaking. He tore off a few tufts of grass between his legs. "How long have you known?" "Last night." "Are you going to ask her to have custody of Rose?" "I would like to." He hesitated. "She still has to accept." "Then do it. If you don't try, you'll feel bad. Who knows? I don't know her, but maybe Melissa will accept. As they say here, who doesn't try anything has nothing. Your daughter adores you. She'll be very happy with you. If of course you want to." Callie encouraged. "Of course I want to. If it was up to me, I would have lived with her a long time ago. But a little girl needs her mom, right?" "Yes, and her dad too. But above all, She needs to be surrounded by people who love her. And here on the farm that's not missing, between your mother, your grandparents, your uncle, your aunt, and Danielle. And you, too. And me, Callie admitted. But unfortunately, I'll not be here in 6 months. The idea gripped her heart. She had become attached to the Allard Bonifaci family, much more than she would have thought. They had become her French family when she was so far from hers. And she realized at that moment that leaving was going to be much more difficult than she expected. "When does Melissa leave?" Callie asked, to bring the conversation back to the main subject and forget about her passing blues. "You should talk to her as soon as possible. If you want Rose to come and live with you full-time, you'll have a lot of things to put in place, and it would be better for her to return to school in Gourds in September." "You're right," he replied. A few days later, Vincent knocked on Callie's door. She let him in and immediately saw a noticeable change on his face. He was smiling. "What's happening? You look like a kid in a candy store. It's borderline freaky to anyone who knows you." He laughed at her remark, and it surprised her even more. Even worried her. Was he under the influence of any euphoric drug? "Melissa has agreed that I have custody of Rose." "Really?" she squealed. "Yes." His smile widened further. "Oh my God, I'm so happy for you." Callie rushed closer to him, not even realizing that the euphoria had made her switch to her mother tongue. Before he could even understand what was happening to him, Callie jumped into his arms, almost making them both fall to the ground. She gave him a hug, which ignited a strong emotion within them. Both could not explain the thoughts running through their minds. She realized after moments have passed, then reluctantly backed away, clearing her throat. Callie stepped back troubled to have let herself get carried away, mumbling while staring at her feet. "Congratulations." "I wanted to thank you, Callie," Vincent said, taking her hand on the table. "Why?" "You were the one who convinced me that I could do it." "Me? I didn't do anything, other than telling you things you already knew." "Thank you." He squeezed her hand a little tighter to signify that he meant it. A slight cough was heard, and they looked up to see Danielle entering the living room looking amused. "Did I miss something? Are you proposing to her, Vincent?" she teased. They both said a no in unison before clarifying why she found them in that situation. "Well, I'm so glad Rose is coming to live with us permanently. I also hope some people will take courage and admit their feelings so that Rose could have a happier home to come to. Rose gave you the job of finding her father a wife in hopes that you could be the one, Callie." She added and left the room, leaving behind a stunned Callie and a motivated Vincent. In the afternoon, while Callie was reviewing the occupancy rates for August with Hugo, she took the opportunity to invite him to Danielle's birthday. "I'm having a little birthday party for Danielle in 2 weeks. Would you like to join us? You can bring Christelle too. I heard you two are dating. My best wishes." He got up to go back to his office, looking all-conquering. "Thank you, Callie." "You're welcome." Danielle was going to kill me. Inviting Christelle to her birthday? What an idea. But hey, the more, the merrier, right? She mumbled to herself. The party was in full swing. Danielle's family came over for a drink with them, and then they slipped away and left them with young people. Even at 30, this might seem ridiculous. Alexandra, Danielle's friend, had a talent, or rather a gift, she would say, for the preparation of mojitos. The next morning, Callie woke up to find herself in Vincent's bedroom. Apparently, she had too many drinks and couldn't go back to their apartment, as Vincent explained. "So we found the Sleeping Beauty," exclaimed a voice behind them. Callie realized that Rose had slept at her grandmother's, but had certainly not returned to Vincent alone. And of course, it was Danielle who brought her back. "Did you sleep well, my beautiful?" she asked Callie. "What a pity that Vincent only managed to carry you to his bed, but not to yours." Vincent and Callie glared at her. "She's too heavy," said Rose. "Oh, that's why she loves children." "Rose, sweetie, go to the kitchen and see if there's any cake left," said Vincent as a diversion and to steer his daughter away. The bait worked wonderfully as she rushed out of the room without asking more questions. "Were you awakened by a kiss from the prince?" quipped Danielle. "Vincent slept on the sofa," Callie explained. "Danielle, that's enough. Callie was tired. She fell asleep on the sofa, and I carried her to my room. There's nothing else to add." "Yes, of course. That's why she's in her underwear, wrapped in your sheet. Last time, she came back with your clothes. You two have weird games." She turned around and declared, as if they were two teenagers caught in the act, "You're right to have fun, but don't forget to protect yourself." A few days after Danielle's birthday, Callie's situation could be summarized as follows. Danielle thought she was sleeping with her cousin. Rose had told her grandmother that she found Callie in her father's room early in the morning, which spread like wildfire in the family. No one came to speak to her directly about it, but she had many curious looks. As for Vincent, Callie has since that famous morning used her favorite technique in the face of adversity: stealth. In other words, she spent her time avoiding situations where she would find herself in his presence, especially if it meant that they were alone. During their last confrontation, which could be called the bedroom episode, it was pretty clear that she didn't leave him indifferent. She also admitted that, even though their beginning had been chaotic, she was not insensitive to his charm. Conclusion: she has fallen in love with him. Normally, this outcome would have given her wings. She would have crossed the courtyard to knock on his door and jump on his neck as soon as he opened it. But now, her experience with Hugo had scared her a bit, and she felt that she had to think before she acted. Rose was a child with separated parents who had just moved into her dad's home. They both had to transition. It wasn't the time for someone to come and disturb their fragile balance. Secondly, the fact that in 5 months she was going to leave Luberon. She had started a relationship with Hugo without thinking too much about this already planned departure. With Vincent, she couldn't act in this way, and in particular, because of his little rose without thorns. Like she does every morning, Callie went down the courtyard to her car, turned on the ignition, and expected the soft hum of the engine. But there was nothing. Callie tried several times without success. Her options were to take public transportation, but she had an important meeting in an hour and was very likely to miss it. Or call a colleague to pick her up? Danielle was already gone, and she wouldn't want to bother her. Anyway, that wouldn't solve her main problem. Her car would still be broken when she got home that evening. Callie only had one solution left: to ring her sexy neighbor's doorbell, who, by pure chance, was a mechanic. But that meant she was going to see him. "Come in!" he yelled at her through the door. Callie found him in the kitchen, making coffee. "Sit down," he told her, pointing to a chair before placing a cup in front of her. "I haven't come for a social call. I've come for a small service." "I know." Callie looked at him, surprised, and then realized that he had probably seen her trying to start her car through the window. "My car's broken," Callie said anyway. "It's not broken. It's your battery wire that's disconnected." "Huh? What? How do you know that?" she asked, puzzled. "I know because it was me who took it off," he told her, the calmest person in the world, taking a sip of coffee. Callie jumped up. "What do you mean you disconnected it?" He approached her, a half smile on his lips, which exasperated her even more. "Sit down, Callie." "I'll sit down if I want to, and now that's out of the question. Not until you explain to me why you decided to ruin my morning by making me late for work." He casually blew on the surface of his coffee, as if he had all the time in the world before him. Callie felt her blood boil. "I did it so that you would come to see me," he told her without blinking. "So that I'd come to see you? Do you often fake a breakdown on your friends' cars when you want them to come see you? You don't know the traditional ways, like, I don't know, come knocking on my door. Or hey, the phone. You know that fabulous invention that allows people to talk to each other, so..." Callie couldn't say another word because, technically, Vincent had made it impossible. As she was furious with him and pouring out her anger at the speed of a machine gun, he kissed her. Not a delicate kiss or a chaste kiss. A passionate kiss. A kiss at the height of her frustration. Little by little, Callie relaxed at his touch, and she languished in his arms, surrendering completely to his embrace. I hope you enjoyed watching Captivating the French Hearts. For more epic stories, please subscribe and turn on post notification. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.